Let's rank all 6 Scream movies today. Let's go. Hi guys, this is Josh with J So Horror back again. Today I'm going to be ranking all 6 Scream movies including Scream 6. Now this is my ranking, I'm not saying it's right, so go down in the comment section below and give me your ranking of this series. Now I will say I love this series and I have loved the series since day one. I saw the first one in theaters when I was like 9 years old, so I like every single movie in this series, so even the movie at the bottom I still really enjoy and I could still get a lot of enjoyment out of it, but there's just some movies I like more than others. But let's start off with number 6. I am going to give it to Scream 4. Now honestly, when I first saw this in theaters, I was very disappointed, let down by this movie because I was such a huge fan of the first 3 movies when I was a kid. I was a little bit disappointed, but over time I think this movie's gotten better, and I actually think this movie came out like 10 years too early because a lot of this stuff is relevant today, particularly the killer's motives and everything, and I love that they talk about remakes and reboots in this movie. That's what was going on in horror mostly at the time. And I love we got the 3 OG characters back, and I do like that they went back to Woodsboro in this movie. And they kind of set this movie up to where what they actually did in Scream 5, they did not do in this movie, because they set up this entire new cast of characters, and they bring in the legacy characters, and it feels like a reboot. It definitely was intended to be a reboot of the series. But by the end of the movie, like almost all the new people were dead, and you still had Sidney, Gale, and Dewey. I thought that was kind of very interesting, and even the opening of this was really fun with the Stab 6, Stab 7 opening, but I thought the actual opening with the actual Scream 4 opening was kind of weak and kind of rushed because of the Stab 6, Stab 7 thing. And I think there is some, like, Olivia's death is one of my favorite deaths of the series because of the aftermath, and Sidney is so badass in this movie. She just so rushed into a house and kicked Ghostface's butt in this and everything. And they gave us Kirby in this movie, and the motivations of the reveal of Jill and Charlie. Charlie's just kind of there as Ghostface for me, but Jill is actually becoming one of my favorite Ghostfaces of all time, because once Emma Roberts was revealed as the killer, I mean, Jill goes insane, and her motivations are still relevant today. It's so easy to get famous, and they were recording all the murders, and she wants to be the new Sidney and everything. And I think this movie overall is really fun. It's just not, for me, it's not like as intense as some of the other movies, but that was Scream 4 at my number 6. Now number 5, I am going to give it to Scream 5. I actually thought this was a really well done requel is what they call it. It's like a legacy sequel. I mean, I'm glad they did not avoid any of the other installments of the series, but they did in this what they actually should have done in 4, where we got this new generation of cast, and 4 of them end up carrying on into Scream 6. We got the Carpenter sisters, and I absolutely love Tara in this movie, and the opening was very similar to the first movie's opening, but it just worked. It kind of was a back to basics type movie, and Sidney, Gale, and Dewey, they weren't used as much as I was hoping, but the way Scream 6 plays out, it kind of makes sense that we're actually going to be following a new generation, and the legacy characters might pop up here and there. When Sidney's on screen, absolutely love her. When Gale and Dewey on screen, I love them, and Dewey was awesome in this movie. I love Dewey. It was so sad that they killed him, but this movie just felt very back to basics, kind of what they needed to do. And the whole requel talk, it was just made sense with what's going on nowadays with horror. A lot of horror movies are doing these legacy sequels, avoiding certain sequels in the series and everything. So it was perfect timing. And then the toxic fandom reveal, and Richie and Amber, I do kind of like them, and I like the killer reveal, but the toxic fandom thing, I was kind of mixed on the first time I saw the movie, but after I see this movie a couple more times, I actually kind of really like the toxic fandom. They got to make a new movie and all that. A good new Stab movie. And they used Sidney well enough. And Dewey's death made the stakes feel really high again. And with the introduction of Sam and Tara, Chad and Mindy, I actually loved Mindy in this movie, maybe even more than Scream 6. I absolutely love Mindy in this. I thought this was achieved what it was supposed to do, kind of give us a new generation of survivors to follow, and if you want to have a legacy character here and there in a new movie, go ahead and put them in. But it achieved kind of what Scream 4 didn't achieve in that way, and I really enjoy Scream 5. It's definitely not my favorite, but it's a very fun installment and a very good requel in terms of that. It really achieved that, and it actually gave us some other characters to care about besides the OG 3. So for the most part, this movie worked. It's not a perfect movie, but I enjoy this movie quite a bit. But coming in at number 4, I am going to give it to, I'm shocked, I am going to give it to Scream 3. Now, I absolutely love Scream 3. I mean, I grew up with this one. I know it's a little goofier in the series. It's probably the cheesiest, the goofiest, the funniest movie in the series. They're having it set in Hollywood on the Stab 3 set and everything is really cheesy, but for some reason I have so much nostalgia with this, and this has the elements of a closing chapter of a trilogy. This was going to be the last movie in the series. So a lot of it works for me. Sidney kind of pops up more towards the end of the movie. She's used a little bit throughout, but you could tell she wasn't in this movie as much. But when she's in it, she's so good. And they give a little more time to shine to Gale and Dewey because of that fact. And this movie is just fun, man. I don't take this movie seriously at all, but I have so much nostalgia for this. I don't really see anything in this movie that's bad, really. I mean, I have so much fun when I'm watching this. I know it's technically weaker and probably the weakest movie in the series technically, but I still love this movie. And the ending with Roman being Sidney's half brother, and kind of they retcon stuff to the first movie where Roman was kind of behind Billy and Stu, and he kind of started all this entire thing as a closing chapter, and it was going to be the last movie in the series. I think it works. I mean, it's goofy, but it works. I still love Scream 3, and I could pop that in anytime and still get so much fun out of this movie. It was actually hard to put it below my number 3, but I had to really think about it and which movie is better, which I enjoy both of these movies about the same, but which movie is technically better. So my number 3, I can't believe how high this movie is, but my number 3 is Scream 6. The one that just came out this weekend. Now, I was hoping to have fun with this movie, but I was kind of shocked by how suspenseful some of the movie was and how I ended up loving the nickname, the Core 4 from the last movie. Like, I liked them, but like Sam and Tara especially, I absolutely love now. And for me, they actually kind of fill the void of not having Sidney around, because Sidney, this was the first movie in the series where she was not in the movie. And I thought I was going to hate this movie just for that reason, but I ended up having so much fun with this. Ghostface was so brutal. I like the look of the aged mask of Ghostface in this. It's set in New York, so there is some awesome set pieces. Intense scene on a train, a really intense scene with including apartment buildings and a ladder. I won't say too much if you haven't seen the movie. And they used the New York setting pretty good, and I thought they were kind of doing some different stuff with this movie that I was really enjoying. My main complaint is the third act kind of feels like the same old, even though the rest of the movie was kind of feeling like a really different Scream movie, and even the opening they kind of twisted the opening and everything. But they did some stuff I loved. For the most part, I love this movie. I was not expecting to enjoy it this much over Scream 5, but I think I do like it way more in Scream 5. And I absolutely love the new characters now. They have achieved that I care about these core 4 as much as the original 3. I am shocked. I am so shocked. The fact that they have done that shocks me, and the fact that Sidney wasn't in this and I still love this movie shocked me. But yeah, overall I had so much fun with Scream 6, even if the third act kind of ended up feeling like the same old, same old. But yeah, overall loved Scream 6. But I could not put it above my number 2. I have so much nostalgia with particularly the first 3 movies, but I love Scream 2. That's my number 2. Scream 2 is just, for me, a near perfect movie. I just love it, and I grew up with this movie, and I still think it's great today. I love the college setting. I love getting Gale, Dewey, Sidney, and Randy all back from the first movie. A lot of slasher movies don't bring you back characters, and that's one great thing about the Scream movies. We get characters we end up loving because they keep moving on to other installments. And I love that, like I said, I love the college setting. I love that they add like the stab movies to this universe, where in the opening at the movie theater with Jada Pinkett is still so well done. It's still really intense, and seeing somebody die in front of all those people in the theater, that was some really intense stuff when this came out. And Scream 2 has like still 2 of my favorite sequences in the whole series with Gale and Dewey. And Gale ends up breaking off from Dewey when Ghostface shows up. She's like in the sound room and she's kind of sneakily getting away from Ghostface. That's still one of my favorite scenes in the series. And then when Sidney and her roommate crash with those cops and Ghostface was driving and he's knocked out and Sidney has to climb over Ghostface, that still might be the most intense moment of the whole series. Yeah, this movie just did really good with the kind of the set pieces, and Scream 6 is the first one where I think of like set pieces like this movie. And then the killer reveals like Mickey. I don't mind Mickey as a Ghostface killer, but Mrs. Loomis definitely works a lot better for me. And I do like the Mickey's blame the movie's motive. It was kind of cool, especially back in the 90s. And then them doing the Friday 13th thing where Mrs. Loomis shows up and she just wants old-fashioned revenge for Billy, and the entire climax on the theater stage and everything. Just a really good movie. I just love this movie, and they rushed this movie out like just under a year of the first movie, and I think it's almost as good as the first Scream. It doesn't quite have the same magic as the first movie, but yeah, I love Scream 2, and I think them killing Randy off in this movie really raised the stakes for a few movies to come. I loved Randy and they killed him. It was such a shock. Of course, my number 1, I mean, come on. It's a classic. I don't think they'll ever beat this movie, Scream. The shock and all I saw this in theaters when I was 9 years old. This movie blew me away, and this movie also I liked horror movies, but this is the movie that made me a bona fide horror fan. So without Scream, I might not even have this channel. I mean, maybe not. You just never know. This movie means so much to me, and as a kid, I was blown away by this. The opening, everything from the opening to Drew Barrymore. Just a very intense opening. The voice of Roger L. Jackson, hearing that for the first time. And then ended up with Drew Barrymore dying at the beginning. And like all the references to horror movies and Randy talking about the rules of a horror movie. Even I actually cared about Sidney in this movie with the scenes in the bathroom and her mother dying, getting murdered a year earlier. And this was lightning in a bottle. And I just don't think they can't match this again. This movie was just, in my eyes, a perfect movie. And I love the entire third act with the party and then the killer reveals. And Stu and Billy are still my favorite killers, Ghostface killers of the whole series. They have not masked them, even if Roman was kind of the mastermind to them. I don't think that when I watched the first Scream, even though I know Roman in the continuity was kind of behind Bill and Stewie. I don't think that at all when I'm watching the first Scream. Just everything felt so fresh and new, and they're like poking fun at slashers and horror movies while being a great horror movie. This movie just is perfect in my eyes, and yeah, I could watch this movie any time of the week. Love it just as much as I loved it the first time, and I was shocked by like everything going on in this movie from beginning to end, and the fact that there was 2 killers shocked me. I never thought that. Of course, I was only 9, but I never thought there would be 2 killers, and then Bill and Stu was revealed and like them stabbing each other in the climax. Stu was like hilarious in this movie. But yeah, I love Scream. I just don't think they will ever beat this movie. I don't care if they make 30 Scream movies. They won't get this movie just worked in every way. They just won't match this movie. So I love Scream, the original, so much, and that will always be my number one. But guys, let me know in the comments section below. Give me your ranking of the Scream movies. I'm very curious. I bet a lot of people are very different on the sequels. But yeah, give me your rankings down below. I will try to read all your rankings and reply to all your rankings. I'm very curious on this. But yeah, that was my ranking of the Scream series. I will be seeing you guys really, really soon. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.